Did they make
No, no, it's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Look at this.
Moves out to win it. Carl Edwards bumping, dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again. The bump and run.
There it is.
Maine really turn around, made a Reilly's cage up.
Oh, yeah, welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a Chase Briscoe type of weekend. He was the big winner out in Phoenix for the Ruoff Mortgage 500. And if you're liking this show, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I see those numbers. I know half you guys aren't subscribed right now. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, get a notification every Tuesday morning when the show goes live. It's Monday night in Pennsylvania, 51 and sunny. I'm feeling good. How about you guys? How's your weekend, Matt, Daytona Ron?
Quiet. I'll tell you what, it was a quiet weekend. I hate daylight savings time.
Yeah,
I'm all
agree.
thrown off today, and I think it has to be because of that.
Yeah, just the like I wasn't hungry for lunch because it's really 11 o'clock in my body's brain and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wish we just stay on summertime all year long.
Yeah, amen to that.
Because I like the longer days at night. I like the sun being out at 9 o'clock in the summertime. How about you, Daytona Ron? How was your weekend? What'd you do this weekend?
Quiet weekend, Friday and Saturday, kind of stayed at home, relaxed a little bit. Sunday, I had my cousin and his wife over to watch the race. So I did a little fry daddy and made some chicken bites and watched the race on Sunday. But overall, it was more of a laid back, relaxing type of weekend. But I will say this is the first podcast I think of the year after that race where it caused me. I'm back on the liquor, boys.
Oh God, Phoenix put you back on the liquor.
Back on the liquor, boys.
well, Jones had another rough one near the end there. And
It's a shame. It's a shame. Coming, having great race days and just blowing it within 20 to fucking go back-to-back weeks to get a shitty finish where it doesn't show where he ran all day. But, it is what it is. That's part of the sport of NASCAR. And,
it's the highs and lows.
I'd rather see him go out, burning the tires off it and giving it hell than getting caught up and something dumb happens. So it is what it is. But, we'll see how long this lasts. But back on the liquor.
It doesn't help too. I mean, we all enjoy doing this podcast a lot. At least I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. But it's a little harder after snoozers of a race to feel the motivation to jump on air and really have some fun on the podcast. And if you've listened to us since the beginning, none of us really like Phoenix. So going into it, we were all a bit apprehensive. We thought maybe with the great racing we've seen the last couple weeks out of the next gen car, that the next gen car could save Phoenix Raceway for us. And I think the car looked good. I just don't like the track, man.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that Gen 7 car, you nailed it. It performed well.
Yeah.
I just think the track, it didn't produce good racing. And I'm just waiting for NASCAR to realize that as well. Because I think we all see it. A lot of the fans recognize it. And it just, I think you're right. I think the track didn't produce, the car still did.
Yeah, it almost sounded like on the broadcast this weekend that they're pumping up Phoenix Raceway. We love Phoenix Raceway. It's such a great track, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if that's because we're coming back there for championship weekend in November. So like they kind of have to pump it up or if they truly believe that. But Jeff Gluck's poll, I hadn't checked in a while, but it was at 70% yes to a good race. And I just couldn't feel more opposite than that. So maybe it's just us. I don't know. But yesterday was not the most enjoyable race of the year.
Yeah, we'll jump into it during our race grades because I feel like, I don't know. We'll
There's a
break
couple
it down.
reasons. There's a couple reasons why I have a theory why I personally didn't like it. And like you said, in the race grade, I'll get into it more. But yeah, I agree.
But it was a slow weekend. It sounds like for you guys personally, same as me. Did a lot of chilling. We got a big snowstorm on Saturday. They kind of put a damper on the weekend and everything. So I did some hunkering down did some shoveling and whatnot, and now it's 55 degrees.
All the snow's gone.
All the sun's. So,
I think that was our last one. I'm no meteorologist, but I'm predicting that was our last snowstorm.
I hope so. Usually we get one good one, and then we might see some flurries from now on. But this week it looks pretty nice for the rest of the week. So slow weekend personally, kind of a slow weekend news-wise. You guys want to jump right into it?
Let's do it.
Let's hear it.
All right. The first piece of news. Again, one of those guys that gets a lot of hate on the internet, and I'm not exactly sure why. I have no problems with him. Steve O'Donnell named Chief Operating Officer of NASCAR, so he's getting a nice little promotion there. And then Ben Kennedy moving back into the competition side. He's going to take over the VP of competition role. What do you guys think about OD and Ben Kennedy shuffling up there in NASCAR corporate?
I like the front office, them, and even Steve Phelps, throw him in there. I like him as well. And I agree, Whitey. I've seen a lot of hate on Twitter for them. Maybe not hate, but dislike, I guess maybe is a better word. I like all three of them. They're really progressive, and a lot of the old school NASCAR fans aren't necessarily the most progressive human beings in the world, so that might have something to do with it. I know Steve O'Donnell has been very boisterous about the E series, the electrical car series.
Yeah, he talks about that a lot.
Might have something to do with it. Yeah.
And another thing too, people always refer to we like the 550 package. Apparently, they blame them all for the 550 package, but the teams asked for that years ago. Like they asked for one package across the board, and they gave it to them. They gave what the teams wanted. The fans didn't enjoy it. I feel like OD gets too much hate for that.
Yeah, I just think that's a major issue is the fact that 550 package, I don't necessarily think the drivers wanted the five. I think they wanted a package, not necessarily that 550 one. They wanted more power, which we got now, but I hated that 550 package too. If you listened to us last season on here, I just shit on it every chance that I could, that 550 package. I just knew it was going to be a bad race.
Yeah.
I just think it rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't dislike him for it, but my reason for not disliking him for it was because he had to say that. He's the face.
Course, yeah.
If putting a product out, you're gonna say good things about it, no matter.
We're loving what
you
we're
have
seeing.
to back it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, is he directly responsible? Yes, but is he going to shit on it at the same time? No. You know what I mean? That's where over time they worked it out and they got to where we are now with the more horsepower and this package. But the hate for it though, I don't know where that's coming from. And Ken Bennedy, he's younger, and I think he's really getting in touch with what the next generation is going to want and see out of this sport. So he's always good to have around as an ex driver in the sport too.
For real, I was just gonna say that, Eric, too, and he's a driver himself, so he kind of has a better perspective on the corporate end for what the drivers kind of want to see and what puts on a good race. So definitely looking forward to that. I mean, he was pretty much the sole person responsible for the Busch Clash at the Coliseum, and I feel like they knocked it out of the park this year. We gushed over it for a whole episode. Something that should be very exciting for you, Eric, because you're going to be heading down there. The dirt is ready at Bristol. The track is complete for the second inaugural Bristol dirt race. Are you getting excited as the days count down?
You know what? I'm stocking up on a lot of this, boys. I'm stocking up on a lot of this.
Oh yeah,
you're not watching on YouTube. I got my Tide 43 hat here. And yes, very, very excited to get down there. I don't know how much longer they're going to do that race. So to get down there and see a dirt race at Bristol Motor Speedway is going to be a race that I'll never, I'll never forget going down there for this dirt race. And I kind of, after the snowstorm we had, I am definitely ready for this weather to get out of here and get down to hopefully a nice sunny and warm Tennessee.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
Hoping it's better than last year with the rain that we got that whole weekend. So I got my fingers crossed for you. I hope it's enjoyable, and don't forget to get some goggles just in case.
Goggles, maybe an N95 might help you.
Yeah, one of those gray charcoal ones for like like asbestos removal and stuff like that might be in order.
No way. I'll let the nose hairs just do its job. You know, human nature taking on Bristol.
You're gonna be blowing. You're gonna be blowing red clay out of your nose for a week straight.
I told you guys this. I was watching. I totally forgot about their flooding situation they had until I was watching the race documentary.
Oh yeah,
about Bubba Wallace on Netflix. Which side note, for anyone who hasn't seen it, watch it. It's awesome. Regardless of how you feel about Bubba Wallace,
yeah, I agree.
It gives you a really, really, really cool inside, behind-the-scenes look into what a NASCAR team does outside of the weekends where you see them racing. So really, really cool. But to bring it back to what I was saying, I totally forgot that it literally flooded all around the facilities there last year.
Yeah.
So Eric, the good news is for you is I think they said that was the first time that's ever happened. So I don't think the chances are good that it'll happen 2 years in a row, buddy. I hope you have really good weather and enjoy a really cool weekend.
I was kind of happy it happened like that last year too, because how fun was that Monday night watching dirt racing on TV? I know we were all jazzed up for it, and you could hear it in our voices last year if you go back to that episode from last season. And Matt, I totally agree about Bubba Wallace on Netflix. Even if you're not a fan, check it out, and you might gain appreciation for the guy. And just to get the inside look of how 2311 developed with Denny and Michael Jordan, and then they kind of go big race by big race, failures for the big races and everything. Like they showed it all, competition meetings, all that stuff. Just a great insight of the sport that you don't normally get to see. So definitely worth checking out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Apparently, it hasn't been officially announced yet, but Atlanta will likely adopt a super speedway double yellow line rule. Still waiting on the official word for sure. Do you guys think we'll actually see some super speedway type racing, or is everyone just like hyping it up because of the banking like that?
I hope we do. I love super speedway racing. It would be interesting to see it on a compacted mile and a half, you know? So I forget what race it was last year, a few years ago. They said that because of the package, they're going to be bunched together, and they really weren't. Do you guys remember that? It was like last year, a year and a half, or 2 years ago. They were advertising a race kind of similar. They're going to have like a super speedway package.
Might have been Michigan.
It
could have been. Maybe it was. Yeah.
Big 2-mile track. That maybe they thought that they were going to maybe do a little bump draft or like connect with one another.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was. I remember it being good racing, but it wasn't necessarily what we're used to seeing at Talladega and Daytona. So I don't know if that's what we'll see. I think they're probably more or less talking about maybe the tandem drafting and things like that. But the word drafting has been thrown around. I listened to SiriusXM a lot today, NASCAR Radio Channel 90. They mentioned it a few times on some of their different shows, and the word drafting came across a couple times. So we will see.
Yeah, I was listening to Sirius XM all day long too today, and at first I thought like, yeah, we're gonna see another super speedway, and the more I listened to it, the more I wondered if we would kind of see a little bit more drafting, but then kind of get like strung out. You know what I mean?
So the banking at Atlanta now, that's going to help carry the speed and allow these cars to get to a certain speed that they weren't able to get before this repave.
Yeah.
Now, those speeds, is that the reason for the double yellow line? Is it a safety thing to keep them on the racetrack and prevent them from fanning out or doing anything crazy because they'll be at kind of super speedway speeds? Is it more of a safety thing rather than a race control? Like I don't understand why they're trying to implement it there.
It's a race control thing because of safety. So you're kind of both right on that. Yeah.
And I think because the apron of the track also has a pretty aggressive banking to it.
Right.
I forget if it's 14 or 18 degrees. It's one of those two. And if like we've all been to Pocono looking at turn 1, it's very similar banking to turn 1 at Pocono is what the apron is going to be like. Yeah. So I think kind of like, you know, how kind of Darlington has the progressive banking on the apron And you want to stay off that. I think that's why they're putting the double yellow line rule down there, just to keep them off that banking. Because
destroy their cars. Like you go down that with that transition, you know what I mean? That just that, especially with the way these new cars underneath, that's where they go from. Yeah. That'll absolutely disrupt those next gen cars.
Yeah, I just it got me thinking, because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna see another super speedway race, and then I start thinking like, I bet we'll see probably like a 20% super speedway race, and then it'll devolve into like a 1.5 miles, where we might see some tandem drafting like Matt said, you know. But it should be interesting nonetheless. I'm very excited to see what New Atlanta has. Probably have to give it a couple years too with the just the asphalt and everything, but it should be an exciting race. And speaking of Atlanta, Jeff Gordon will return to the Fox booth this week for the Atlanta race. Are you happy to see Jeff Gordon return this week after all the rotating commentators we've had over the last couple weeks?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Oh, yeah. Like something about Jeff Gordon, he was in there long enough for me, at least, to become a voice that I got used to hearing on Sundays. And like in NFL, you have the Joe Bucks, the Collinsworth, the people that you recognize, Al Michaels, like that voice you hear.
Yeah.
Gordon started doing that for me. And these last couple of weeks, we've had some good people in there. And the last 2 weeks, we haven't.
Yeah.
Not to be mean or anything, but I just think that Danica just didn't have it. And I had to say it.
Yeah.
I was surprised that they brought her back 2 weeks in a row.
I think they already made the commitment before the second week there.
I don't know. Again, okay, you gave her 1 week. The second time this past Sunday, it wasn't any better. And, I saw on social media, she got a lot of, I wouldn't say hate, but, it's kind of, let's get on to someone a little bit more. The only thing that it did was it forced Clint Boyer to show that he really does know how to break down a car.
Yeah.
And be that lead anchor if he has to be.
I feel like, and I said this to you guys, I feel like Clint Boyer and Danica were too inexperienced to be together, where they're cutting each other off more than I cut you guys off here on the podcast. Which isn't intentional, but like it happens. And I just feel like, even listening to Danica, Eric, you pointed out so many times, she'd just be relating things to IndyCar, which I understand. A portion of her career was in IndyCar, but like, this is a NASCAR race. Like, you drove NASCAR more recently, like breaking
and
down
for longer than her IndyCar, I believe.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. I felt like a bad fit, you know?
I get why they did it.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out. They tried and it just didn't work out.
And nothing against Danica as a person or a driver or anything. It's just like, you're really not offering much in the booth. I'd rather hear Jamie Little up there if you want to have a woman up there. Like, I'm cool with that. I think Jamie Little does a great job on the ARCA races.
1,000%. One of you two said that last week during Danica's first week in the booth, and I was like, oh my God, that'd be Jamie Little deserves that opportunity to do that. Absolutely. For a Cup race. She's great, like you said, in the ARCA races. Yeah, nothing against Danica. Danica has a great personality. It's just the knowledge. You would think that it would be better, seeing as though, like you said, she drove Cup for damn near a decade. Every reference she had was towards IndyCar. Yeah. And at one point, and someone pointed it out on Twitter, you could find it. At one point, Boyer just had enough of her referring to IndyCar, and he said something like, well, this isn't IndyCar, this is, stock cars or something. Like, he made a joke out of it in the way that Boyer does, but you can kind of tell, all right, enough with the IndyCar references. We're covering NASCAR here.
See, I missed that one. I didn't even pick up on that, but It's true though. Like, we were talking about it in our personal text messages for 2 weeks now. So I am looking forward to Jeff Gordon returning to the booth, at least for one race. Not sure if he'll come back for a couple more throughout the rest of the Fox season. And I never really liked Jeff Gordon as broadcaster, so to say I'm looking forward to him coming back, that tells you something. I wish they would get Matt Kenseth in the booth every week. I thought he did a phenomenal job, and I thought he was super slick as a broadcaster too, like way, way quicker than Clint Boyer has been, and he's been in the booth every week for almost a year now.
I'm going to make a prediction. They're going to call in Governor Carl Edwards into the booth one of these races.
Is he going to pick up his phone?
That's the thing. Or is he too busy? Like, is he getting ready to make a governor run out there in Kansas?
Yeah. But that's all I have for NASCAR news, unless you guys heard anything throughout the day.
It's got nothing.
Yeah, it's been real light news ever since the beginning of the season. Not complaining. Actually, sometimes no news is good news, you know?
This is usually when it's quiet. You'll start seeing things pick up when silly season starts in the summertime. It's usually quiet right now.
That's true. And, you know, I'm just waiting for some technical developments with the car and such to start dropping to maybe some rule changes. I don't know what the rule changes would be, but we always have those mid-season rule changes. But none of those to report. We do have some NASCAR racing to report on, though. The Xfinity Series race. Noah Gragson, absolutely dominant. He goes away your winner, his first win of the season. And the Cup race, first time winner in the NASCAR Cup Series. Chase Briscoe, also the 200th ever Cup Series winner and his first win in the Cup Series. He had he led 3 times for 101 laps. And I just remembered, Matt, you have any Xfinity notes from Saturday?
I have a couple bullet points. Stuff was on a bachelorette party this weekend.
Yeah.
So I actually, I didn't do my running around or anything when we usually do on Saturdays. I had time to settle in and watch it. So a couple things that I thought of just really quick, and I'll rat-a-tat-tat through them here, is JRM and JGR are on a different level than everyone else this year so far.
Yeah.
I know it's early on, but those two teams are dominant in the Xfinity Series. And then with that being said, Colleague Racing needs to find something. They were running pretty much 7th, 8th, and 9th, or 8th, 9th, and 10th the whole day. They couldn't really break up into that top 10, or up into that top 5 rather. So if they want to compete with the big dogs and have a legit shot at winning a championship, they got to find something. Do you think their Cup Series team might be taking away from the Xfinity Series? It's possible.
Yeah.
Yep, it's absolutely possible. Just like we've been well spoken about Tony Stewart being, kind of spread out thin with his million different things. I mean, obviously things have changed for the better this year, but last year. I
think Tony just won an NHRA drag race.
Yeah, I saw that. He's the first ever Cup winner and NHRA winner. I think I saw that stat somewhere. So yeah, that's cool. Another thing, obviously Gragson dominated. He won the race. He has that new crew chief, Luke Lambert, and I think it has really made a huge impact on his career. I think his finishes are the worst in 3 or 4 races here is third, or in 3 races, 4 races, I guess we're at now. No, how many? Yeah, Xfinity has 4, 3.
They've had 4 races so far.
Okay, so I think the worst place finish he's had is third, I want to say.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable. I think
last 2 weeks he came in second, I think, right?
Yeah, and won. So yeah. And so I think we all applauded him at the end of last year when it was announced that he's coming back to Xfinity. We all said that's going to be good for his career, and so far it is. And then I was really impressed with John Hunter Nemechek and Sam Hunt Racing. I didn't know that Sam Hunt Racing had a really close connection affiliate with JGR, and obviously that's showing. They were really, really strong. And then I do have one last bullet point here. It says here, please stop putting Logano in the booth. God. That's all I have.
The duly noted.
It was a good race. There were some battles at the end there. Like you said, Gragson, he had that win coming to him. I mean, we all knew he was nipping on the heels of that win. He's just been spectacular, like Matt said, I think due to that new crew chief. And it was almost all day you kind of knew that Gragson was gonna come away with that win. And I have to agree with that 26 and that John Hunter car too, Matt. I didn't know that until I watched the race as well. I'm like, ooh, John Hunter in the 20. I go, what's going on here? And they even were talking about how well he was running that car, and to be running inside the top 10 for a couple of times there, like he was, and really battling there. So I was impressed with John Hunter too, and just impressed with him in general. Like Gragson, we said, good for him staying down, being in a top ride. And John Hunter going back down to the trucks and just dominating, and then little by little work your way into the Xfinity series and kind of get your toes wet again. And I just think he's taking a really, really good route, maybe back into the Cup Series soon.
Yeah, I totally agree with the John Hunter route. We talked a lot about it last season and just praising him for the route he's taking. And I gotta give some praise to Noah Gragson too, to be honest with you, because I've dogged him on this podcast in the past, but the longer he spends in the Xfinity series, the more mature I feel like he gets, and the better racecraft he has. And that was on display this Sunday, so I got to give props to Noah Gragson. And we've been seeing a trend the last couple of years where some of these guys get pushed to the Cup Series way too quick, and I'm glad that hasn't really happened to Noah yet. You know, we're looking at Harrison Burton really struggling right now. And Matt, you said it best in our text message. If only there was a podcast that could have predicted this, that he wasn't ready for Cup. But...
We said it. We all like Harrison Burton too.
Absolutely.
I'm comfortable in saying it's just that I don't think in any way. He didn't win a race last year in Xfinity, right? Like he didn't win one. I know the year before he won a couple, but last year I don't believe he won. Maybe one.
I can't remember for sure. I think he might have pulled off one win.
I know it was late in the season last year, and he hadn't had one yet.
He didn't really have a memorable season last year, you know?
Right. So
I kind of look at him in the same light that I'm looking at Daniel Suarez right now.
Mm-hmm.
When Daniel Suarez got thrown into the 19, he only got thrown into the 19 because Carl Edwards retired.
Yep.
He wasn't ready to go in that 19 car, but guess what? He got thrown in there, took advantage of the opportunity to run for Gibbs, a high-profile team, and I thought he did the best that he could in the situation he was thrown into. He wasn't absolutely terrible, but he wasn't, contending for wins, and I think that's where Burton is going to end up as well. I think he's going to get through this season, show some glimpses of why he's in the car, but at the same time, you're not going to see him really start contending and being up there in those top 15, top 10s until he gets a little bit more seat time underneath his belt.
Yeah, just to clear that up, he won 4 races in 2020, and he did not win a race last year. So I knew he struggled. I thought maybe he pulled one off late in the season, but he didn't. So, I don't know. Maybe a little too early, but only time will tell. Maybe it'll click for him.
Another guy that I didn't think moved up too early, but I didn't think he was going to win last year. He didn't, but he pulled off his first career Cup win yesterday. That was one Chase Briscoe for Stewart-Haas Racing, the 200th ever Cup Series winner, which is crazy when you think about it. Like for all the decades NASCAR's been around, ever since 47, I think it started, we've only had 200 different guys win a race. That's how hard it is to win a Cup Series race.
Chocolate Myers said it today on his show. I think it's only like 27 or 2,800, somewhere in that realm of total people in the world who's ever driven a Cup car, and only 200 have won it. So it really goes to show you how hard it is. And from where that performance was last year for Chase Briscoe to where it's been early on, and specifically yesterday, it's really cool to see. He's a likable guy. I think it's really hard to find something wrong with him. So it was cool to see.
Last week, Eric, we talked about Corey LaJoie. You mentioned how he has a nice fan base, even though the performance might not be there on track due to the cars and everything. Chase Briscoe has a nice internet fan base, especially on Reddit. He's very active on Reddit. And so just little stuff like that connects you with the fans. It really does help and go a long way. I saw he posted some pictures to Reddit last night. He's like, we finally did it, boys. And I thought that was a really cool thing for him to do.
That's cool. I didn't know he was sleeping on couches and stuff just a few years ago. And he was he was trying to make things work, and he finally got his shot. So, and here we are now. That's
what makes it a little sweeter too, because there's always a lot of criticism when it comes to NASCAR, like, oh, they came from a rich family, all this stuff, but there is still those guys that bust through with no money and no sponsors behind them and all that stuff, and still make the best of it and get to that upper level. Eric Jones being one. He doesn't come from a whole lot of money and sponsorship and everything, so it's nice to see that grassroots guy make it. And
he won. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. He won in his hero's number car,
yeah.
in Tony Stewart's car. I mean, that gives you chills. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, what did he say? He had the Tony Stewart pajamas as a kid. Now he's winning in Tony Stewart's old car number for his team, you know?
Yep.
So just a great story overall, of course, and he earned it for sure. He led 3 times for 101 laps. We saw 14 lead changes among 6 drivers, probably the least amount of different drivers in the lead we've seen so far this season. 8 cautions for 52 laps. Your top 5, of course, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick in 3rd, Ryan Blaney in 4th, and Kurt Busch in 5th. And Eric, you had a fun stat about the top 4 that's been making the rounds on Twitter. What was going on with the top 4 over there?
So it was a real cool, and like I had to save it because it just goes to show we always talk about the Toyota pipeline through Joe Gibbs and that 20 car in Xfinity. Well, There seems to have been another pipeline, no longer there, but the drivers that finished 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the Cup race on Sunday were all former drivers of Brad Keselowski Racing in the Truck Series. Mm-hmm. And you even throw in Austin Cindric, who won the 500.
Yep.
And you throw in Daniel Hemrick, who won the Xfinity Championship last year. They're all pipeline coming out of Brad Keselowski Racing. So I thought that was an interesting stat to see where those young drivers driving for Brad, the talent he saw, coming up to Cup and starting to produce now.
And if you look at those names, not a whole lot of money, not a whole lot of corporate sponsorship, besides, of course, Austin Cindric and the Team Penske connection, but a lot of talent, raw talent, and grassroots guys making their way up. So it's kind of unfortunate that Brad Keselowski's truck team isn't still active. Maybe once he gets his feet under him with RFK, maybe they'll expand to trucks in the next coming years and try to groom some new talent and put them in the pipeline up to Cup. So absolutely interesting stat. Loved it. But what'd you guys think of the race? I know we kind of alluded to it, but you want to jump into our race grades?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Usually we start with Matt, so let's start with Eric this week. Shake it up a little bit.
So remember, we're grading on what we see out of the cars and the racing this year. I know we shit on Phoenix a lot, previous years and whatnot. Now, based off of what I saw and this year, I'm giving it a C. If I'm basing it off of the other races, there was in the first stage, I knew it wasn't going to live up to those races.
Yeah.
But I still had hope. But, through the second stage, it didn't produce for me like the other races did. I think it wasn't a complete shit race. It was still exciting and certain things going on, and it kept me in tune. I was really fighting, really just giving it a B- there, just because it was a good race. Like, I wouldn't say it was a bad race. Like in Gluck's poll, it wasn't a yes or no answer for me. You know what I mean? It was good in its ways, but it wasn't just a clear cut yes, no, good race, bad race. Like it was tough for me because you had a lot of the stuff that we've seen in other races with the car. I'm kind of judging what is the car doing? Is the car producing this? And the car seemed to produce parity once again. The parity was there.
Yeah.
No car really got out way in front and just got in that clean air and dominated. The interval times were still really short. So there was good that was still coming out of this race via what is this next car going to do? I just think that the track itself really limited the excitement. Like you hinted at, Whitey, with the drivers and the lead changes. And I looked back at the first 3 races. Daytona had 35 lead changes amongst 13 drivers.
Yeah.
Auto Club had 32 lead changes amongst 9 drivers. And Vegas had 23 leaders with 15 drivers. Yesterday, we saw 14 with only 6 drivers. So more than half that got cut. So when you're not getting lead changes and battles for the lead, you're not going to get a good race grade from me. And the amount of drivers that were up there battling, it just wasn't as much as these other weeks. And I don't think that's to blame the car. I just think that's the racetrack we went to, and the racetrack is hard to pass there. And it just seemed like it was super, super hard once again to pass and to get out of the dirty air. That's where Eric Jones has a real hard time finding the balance of the race car, just being back in the dirty air. So overall, taking all of that into consideration, I gave it I guess I could give it a C plus if you want. It's borderline C plus to a B grade, but I gotta stick to what my gut feeling was, so I'm gonna give it a B.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And how about you, Matt? What'd you give it?
So I gave it a C minus. I tried. I don't know. I couldn't figure out a way to enjoy that race. I knew going into it that Phoenix is naturally my least favorite track, and we've covered all the reasons why that is. So I don't know if it was my preconceived notion that I just don't like Phoenix or what it was, but I went into that race thinking, okay, I know I don't like this track. I typically don't like this race, so let me try to find other things to enjoy about it. Obviously, Chase, my driver, was up front for a while. That definitely helped, but but the battles, like Eric had mentioned, they weren't there. Do I like my guy being out front and dominating? Sure, but he wasn't getting I like when there's some pressure on him. I like when there's a battle. The strategies weren't there for me, and it was just, at the end of the day, it was just a blah race. I don't know, like I said, I really don't like the racing there. It doesn't help Phoenix's case either. Like I said at the earlier part of the show here, I have some ideas of why I didn't like it. One of the reasons is it doesn't help that the first 3 races of the season were absolutely phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And so we're bound to have that bottom drop out at some point.
It's got to happen eventually.
It's got to happen eventually. It's probably not going to happen at Atlanta. It's a new reconfigured track. It's probably going to be crazy there. It's not going to happen at COTA. Road courses tend to be interesting, and then you go into the Talladega, Richmond, Bristol dirt stretch where that's a lot of fun tracks too. So there was a good chance that this race was going to be kind of a dud, and it was. Now, with that being said, it's okay. It's okay that the race wasn't good. It just wasn't good, and that's fine. Again, we're not going to have all these, races coming down to the last wire, even though it technically did. That is one thing that saved the grade for me, was that last restart with the 3 drivers who had never won before. You knew one of those guys, somebody was getting a win.
Yeah.
And that last little shootout was really exciting because it's 3 guys who are known for being aggressive. I mean, specifically Chastain and your boy Reddick. They're aggressive drivers, which I love. That's a positive to me. And I'm surprised. The only thing that I'm surprised about is that there wasn't any crazy contact. Nobody got taken out. They raced each other clean, and it was respectful. And at the end of the day, the best car probably won, but those other 2 were right there as well. I mean, they were probably, the top within the top 5 of best cars out there yesterday. So I will give the race that at the end of the race, you had the future fighting it out cleanly.
Can I tell you what I thought was really funny about those 3 guys battling for the win there? In the post-race interview, each one of them said, I pushed it as far as I could, and I really wasn't sure if we were going to make it, you know? So they were all 3 of them were pushing it as hard as possible. And you love to hear that,
Yep.
And it just worked out for them. It worked out that there wasn't a crazy contact and some sort of calamity. And then Kevin Harvick, the closer, comes just cruising on by them because he was right there in the mix on that last restart too until he got shuffled back. So, the saving grace for that was those last couple cautions near the end. Because I think there was caution at lap 50 to go or something like that too. That kind of set up some of that interesting storyline there. But I agree. I gave it a C. Compared to the last 4 races, it was the worst. But even before our pre-race show, we were talking here. Eric said it was really hard to figure out a wreckers for this one too, because there wasn't a whole lot to complain about when it came to anything individual. It was just kind of a meh type race, And I thought the beginning was pretty interesting, and then as I started watching it, I realized it was very difficult to pass. I don't know if you guys noticed it too. I noticed it with Reddick specifically and Ryan Blaney at a certain point where it seems like they had the momentum and they would get door to door with the guy and they'd be door to door for 2, 3, 4 laps before they just kind of gave up, tucked back in line, and then maybe someone behind them would get a run and pass both of them. So it was really interesting to see that and kind of frustrating at the same time. Watching your driver kind of struggle. So I don't know if that was because of the new car. I don't know if it was because of the track. Phoenix is a weird place because they fan out 5 wide, but there's really not too many different lines you could really run, which is odd. You know, does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you said it yesterday. I think it was you that said it yesterday, is that the restarts are a lot of fun there for the first maybe 3 or 4 laps on a restart. And then if you get a long green flag run, and we saw it in the Xfinity race as well towards the end, if you get a long green flag run, they get single file, and it's kind of a momentum sucker. Like it gets drawn out.
But what I noticed too, thankfully Fox started putting the intervals up instead of the speed. So we were able to watch how many seconds apart everyone was. It seemed like they stayed pretty close together. They just couldn't get the momentum to kind of catch up. So like if you were stuck back, 0.5 of a second, you were kind of stuck there for a while, just searching any lane to make up any type of ground. And listening to the radio, especially like Reddick's in-car radio, it was really hard. Once the leader got out there and started hitting those marks, it was hard to find anything to contend, especially Chase Briscoe at the end there. He just kind of drove away with it. So, but yeah, I agree with you guys. I went with a C.
My thing with Phoenix, we talk about how the track kind of was the issue this week. Like I thought, the car did fairly well, but we talk about that double yellow line at these super speedway races.
Yeah.
They have that big dog leg at Phoenix, and it just blows my mind. I want to know your guys' opinion on it. Like, you have a racetrack and you configure it a certain way.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a yellow line there. They have a yellow line at Phoenix.
Yeah.
But the drivers say, fuck it. I'm going to go fan out 6, 7 wide, and I'm going to go way down low. I'm going to completely cut the racetrack off and not even race on the racing surface to cut that whole corner.
Yeah.
I just find that very frustrating when I'm watching that race, because it's like, that's not how that racetrack, like if you wanted the racetrack to race that way, then build a racetrack to race that way.
Yeah. Put the lines down there, make that the racing service.
To like, why not? Like, I wonder what the race would be like if Phoenix had a double yellow line rule where you had to stay within the configuration of that dogleg and of that racetrack in which way it goes. And to me, I don't know, I would have liked to see them not use any PJ1 or any compound this year until they go through every racetrack with this new car and the new tire setup with it. Like,
yeah,
I think you're just asking for too much controversy and not knowing what kind of data you're getting. I think they should have raced this whole year, every racetrack, no compound, no nothing, because my opinion, that kind of stuff was to save the last car's package, to get the best racing they could there. You have a whole new car. Let's see what it does. I don't know. I just think the compound didn't work to make multiple lines yesterday at Phoenix.
Yeah.
And them cutting that dog leg off, it just gets irritating sometimes because it's not the way that track's supposed to be raced,
Yeah. I'm also still confused why we had a competition caution too. If it's because we have too short of practice, then make practice longer.
Did any of you guys do that for your checkers or your wreckers? Was the competition caution?
I
was really
but
close.
I thought about it. I was too.
Yeah, because I saw a lot of people and some known names of like the sport that cover it in the media kind of were shocked and tweeting about it as well. Like, why would, like, lap 25 you have a caution and like guys are staying out after 15 lap runs on older tires and maintaining those? I don't know. It just seemed seemed weird to throw it. Like, what are you doing already? You know?
No, like at Auto Club, we had a short practice, so it was understandable. It didn't really make sense. Like, well, we're doing practice. Why don't you make it longer so you don't have to do a competition caution?
Right.
But at this point, we saw 30 plus lap runs during practice because it was a little bit longer. So why, if we have 30 lap runs in practice, are we going to have a competition caution 25 laps into a race? It seems kind of counterintuitive. Like, we've already figured that data out. There's no point at that point,
There was no weather either, right? There was no racetrack go green, because sometimes if the racetrack goes green at start, they'll throw a comp just to see what it's like, because all rubber and shit gets washed out.
Yeah,
but,
no, there's.
I thought that was really weird.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just didn't make sense. It made sense the first week, which it didn't. Like, for me, I'm like, well, we have practice. Why are we even doing it? But it made sense because you couldn't get those long runs with a 15-minute practice. But they changed it. They did a little rule change and they figured it out. So, like, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Atlanta. We have a 50-minute practice session for Atlanta, which should be interesting. A full 50 minutes. So we'll talk about that in the weekend preview. But first, let's jump into the checkers and wreckers. Matt, what was your checkers and wreckers for the week?
So my checkers and wreckers is actually opposite of the way I root. And I'll kind of go into it. My checkers is going to go to Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
You got to give him credit where credit's due. I know I've been kind of hard on him over the past probably year or so. But he had a really great run. He had one of the best cars of the day too, a 5.5 average placement, which was good for fourth highest average. I said before the season started that he might go winless again, and if he runs similarly the rest of the season as he did yesterday, I'm going to be eating crow. So, and it's a good track for him. That's his 10th straight top 10 finish at Phoenix. Oh, I'm sorry. 18th top 10 finish. Yeah. Yeah. Which is unbelievable. That's unbelievable. So the past they run twice there. So the past 9 years he hasn't finished outside the top 10 there. That's so impressive. So I had to give my checkers to Kevin Harvick. Shrey, shout out to you. I know he busts me when I'm hard on Harvick, but I had to give it to him.
All right. How about your wreckers? What was your wreckers?
Goes opposite of that. So. If Kevin Harvick is the closer, then Chase Elliott might be the folder, because and that's tough for me to say. You guys know that, but he's been folding at the end of races. So it seems like every time he has a top 3 car, he folds. Something happens, whether he does it or his pit crew screws up. They can have phenomenal stops every single time until the last stop, and then boom, something happens.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened this time around, and then Chase spun out and then he still managed to get an 11th place finish. But I was looking just to see, what kind of car did he have? His average position yesterday, running position, was 3.9, which was the best in the field. He had 36 of the fastest laps yesterday, which was good for third best. He led for 50 laps, which was good for third best, and he had a driver rating of 121.7, which was good for third best. So he was a top 3 car, and he just didn't get the results. He is third in standings right now. That's the saving grace. I truly believe, and this might be some of my bias, but I think there's stats out there that back it up. I truly believe he could be as dominant as Kyle Larson is. He's in the same equipment as Kyle Larson. The only difference is Kyle Larson knows how to close these races out, and Chase Elliott's still apparently trying to figure that out. So it's frustrating. I hope he can turn that around. He can get some of that worked out, and he can start closing these things out. But I had to wreck him.
I'll tell you what, it's weird because I remember busting on Larson last season because he couldn't close out. He had a long history of leading laps, even when he was back in the 42 car, coming in second how many times, just not being able to close them out. And he figured something out to get these finishes where he's supposed to come, which is first place. And, Chase, he's known for doing that. And, obviously a champion of our sport, he'll probably turn it around. But it is funny to see Larson and him kind of swap as far as from people who could close out races and win. And now they swap those positions.
Mm-hmm. I wonder too, Like, obviously I don't watch Chase as intently as you do. But I tend to notice, like, early on in season, sometimes he does struggle a little bit, and he kind of warms up into his season. Does that make sense? Do you notice the same thing?
1,000%.
2019's really come to mind when it comes to that, and even a little bit of 2020, that championship year. I feel like, well, he should have won a lot more races than he did. He got a lot of races that he should have won taken away from him. And
when they came back from the COVID break, I mean, he should have won that one race at Darlington, and Kyle Busch took him out. There were a couple other races where like he could have easily had like 4 straight wins, something like that, and just the circumstances. Again, he wasn't able to close them out. You know, whether you want to blame that on someone taking him out or not, he still wasn't able to close them out. So it's kind of been his MO for the past couple of years. You're right, though. That championship year, he did win. I think it was 3 out of the last 4 to win that championship. So he does come on later in the season. Maybe that's just his deal. He's kind of lackadaisical, but it would be nice to see him, get that win, solidify his spot in the playoffs, especially because I think this is the year. I know we always say it, but I think this is the year where we see 16 different winners before the end of the regular season. So you've got to win a race this year. You have to.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't worry too much, especially this early on. And plus we have Coda coming up in 2 weeks, and you know how well he does at road courses. So we'll really get to see his probably his. I don't want to say his best talent, but his talents shine.
Sure.
Sure. I mean, he won there last year, correct? In the rain shortened one.
Yeah, he won. I'm sorry. Yeah,
okay.
He won.
I knew Larson won. I think Larson won Sonoma. They were real close. I couldn't remember for sure who won what though.
Yep.
Long time ago. Oh, man, wet noodle. How about your checkers and records, Eric? What'd you think about this weekend?
We kind of already touched on my checkers that I had down here. And I'm just going to stick with it because it was something that I thought maybe saved my race grade for me. Like you guys said, just a few moments ago, is just my checkers goes to that top 3, with Chastain, Briscoe, and Reddick. I just really enjoyed, for once, seeing an end of a race where everyone's battling and we don't come out of it talking about, should he have done that? Should he have not have done that?
Yeah.
Was it dirty? Was it not dirty? Is there going to be payback or not? It was just 3 drivers that were hungry as hell for their first win.
Yeah.
Now, I know how aggressive Chastain is. I know how aggressive Reddick is. And all 3 drivers fighting for your first win, I thought for certain they were going to either collect everybody up, or one of them was going to dust up and someone random was going to win again. But I was surprisingly pleased to see how clean that those 3 raced each other at the end there. And I just thought that was impressive. To be that close to a win. We all know how close Reddick has been. And with how aggressive Ross Chastain was. I know I was watching the race with my cousin Trey, who was a Tony Stewart, now a Harvick fan. And he was really rooting on that 14. And I remember tapping him going, bro, Chastain lining up right there with him. I go, I'm nervous for you right now because I know how aggressive and some of the silly moves that he did make last year. I know he improved last year, but he did get a little too aggressive. So I just thought the end of that race was super, super impressive, being that it was raced so clean amongst the drivers.
Can I tell you a little funny story from Pocono?
Let's hear it.
So when we were at Pocono, we were with your cousin Trey, of course, great friend, known him since, I don't know, we were 8, 9 years old. And he's like, yo, Whitey, I got an idea. Let's go to the merch haulers and buy each other a shirt, but it can't be our driver. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Because I know right now, like, he's real big on Larson. I'm like, oh, I'll just get him a Larson shirt. He doesn't have a Larson shirt, right? And he goes, but don't get me a Larson shirt because I already know which one I want to get. So now I'm like racking my brain. I'm like, oh man, who do I go? Who do I go with? And him being a Harvick fan, I knew he was a Tony Stewart fan back when he raced. So I'm like, let me go to the SHR hauler. Let me see if I could find a cool shirt from another Stewart Haas driver. And I got him a Chase Briscoe shirt. I'm like, well, he kicked ass in the Xfinity series. I think he's going to be a good prospect. let me grab this t-shirt. So that's midway through the season. And last season, Chase Briscoe, man, did not have the season I thought he would. I didn't think he would win last year, but I thought he would do a lot better. And like, I regretted buying him that shirt. I'm like, man, what if he's just like a bust, you know? So yesterday, when Chase Briscoe got that win, I'm like, man, Lee Stray's got a winning shirt there now.
Hell yeah.
During the race, it might have been probably stage 3 when it was coming down to the wire. We were talking about that and how, he was a Stewart fan and like he obviously stuck with Stewart Haas when he went to Harvick.
Yeah.
And we're kind of waiting for his next driver to come up and who he's going to root for as far as, the young talent coming up. And
because it's tough figuring out, we talked about it in the off season,
Really tough.
And it's tough. But yesterday, we were, having a couple beers here and there. And I go, Shrey, if Chase Briscoe wins, I go, that's got to be your driver. And he's like, yeah. I think, yeah. No, you're right. And like, I tried convincing him. I go, dude, huge Tony Stewart fan as a kid.
Yeah.
What was your guy, Tony Stewart? I go, Stewart obviously loves him enough to bring him into the car.
Yeah.
Because he represents what Tony represented. So I think, Whitey, you may have bought Shrey his first of his new drivers t-shirts.
Hell yeah.
I don't know, man. He's real high on Larson though. He loves Larson. I think he
doesn't want to hop on that. Everyone knows Larson is good.
It's the bandwagon at that point,
right.
So it sucks, but like I know
where he sticks with Briscoe though. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
His Larson is my MTJ.
Exactly.
Like, it's your second guy. You love him, but it can't be your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to wrap back into the race was that I thought about from last year. You remember when Briscoe punted Hamlin at
Denny out of the way. Yeah.
And he told him, he's like, dude, that's not how I drive. That's not how I wanted to win a race. I was kind of doing what I had to do, and then
he kind of got forced into him by AJ Allmendinger and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. It wasn't what he wanted to do, and then you flash forward to yesterday where he gets his first win. He won it clean in a very aggressive way. Reddick even said, we played a game of chicken. Whoever won that race in the turn one was going to win the race.
Yeah.
And whoever was the last one to lift was going to win that race, and it was Briscoe who didn't lift, so he won it clean, and I think that's really cool as well. Like I said, for 3 guys who are really aggressive, who really want to get that first win, for it to end as clean as it did, I appreciated that. That was cool.
Yeah, just like we talked about with the Daytona 500, Austin Cindric had the car of the day. I feel like Chase Briscoe had one of the cars of the day, so it was 100% an earned win, and really happy for him. But how about your wreckers, Eric? What was your wreckers for the weekend?
Well, we touched on a little bit of that earlier, too, my wreckers, but I'm going to go with, it wasn't totally all his fault, but I just feel bad. Daniel Suarez getting into Austin Dillon at the end of that race.
Yeah.
It was just a shame, really. Like, I've been real big on AD these last couple of years, thinking, he's going to turn around, and he's gotten progressively better with his finishes, and
he was running really well yesterday too. He was always within a couple car lengths of Reddick.
He's been running well all year.
Yeah.
So to see his day get taken out, I don't know what Suarez could have done differently besides lift and maybe him possibly losing a top 10 run.
Yeah.
But it really started with Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch actually got into the back of Suarez.
Yeah.
Technically, Suarez came down to protect the bottom. Busch got into his left, bumper, which sent Suarez up the racetrack into Austin Dillon.
Yeah. It's just one of those unfortunate racing deals.
It looked slow, like he maybe could have let off to not hit AD, but at the same time, you're coming to the, start finish there. You're going to try to keep it pedal to the metal for your own finish. And it was just unfortunate circumstances, but that just, it left a sour taste in my mouth, not only for Suarez, because he might think, fans might think he wrecked AD and that car, but, just unfortunate for AD, just getting, once again, there's another driver. I know I touched on Eric Jones in the beginning of the show, not getting the finishes that the day has produced.
Yeah.
And this is another example of it with the 3 car.
No, I agree. And it's one of those things that you really can't hold it against Daniel Suarez. It's the last lap too. You're
Right.
doing what you're trying to do to get the best position possible. Pitbull was in attendance yesterday. One of your team owners, so you want to have a good showing for him. Your teammates running for the lead or running for the win. So like, yeah, you gotta hold your position as best as possible. And maybe throw a bad block, Kyle punts you over, and it's a chain reaction thing. So it is unfortunate, but I agree. It's one of those sucky, shitty racing deals, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right, my checkers and wreckers, and Matt was breaking my balls earlier because I'm always a homer.
I don't do that.
You cut that out. You cut it out now.
I'll have to stop.
Yeah, but not to be a homer, but I had to. Tyler Reddick for the third week in a row, man, just showing great momentum that the team kind of was picking up last season, and I'm just glad it's carrying over to this season. Really seems to be coming into his own. Even before this season, he talked about how he just wants to have a perfect execution day because you look at the guys who win every week. They just execute perfectly all day. He's not concerned about winning. He's just concerned about execution at this point. And he definitely has the last couple weeks. You know, of course, we saw some unfortunate circumstances at Auto Club that his finish didn't represent his race at all. Did another good job recovering last week from a mistake, going through the grass, as Eric loves to point out. And this week, he's the lawnmower. And again, this week, just a pretty great performance. Kind of a snafu on pit road on that caution around with 50 to go, but they made up for it with that late race restart. And yeah, I'm just real proud of my driver, man. We'll see what happens. Of course, the West Coast swing is always a little different because, you know, they send those cars out there and they're out on the West Coast for a while. I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen when we go to Atlanta, when we go to COTA, to see what the engineers back at the shop have figured out from the West Coast swing data and see if these young guys and these newer faces up front continue to run this well, or if we start seeing some of those more dominant teams start rising, specifically Toyota and Joe Gibbs, because I have not really been impressed by Toyota at all this West Coast swing. I know they had a couple people in the top 10 this week, but they really snuck those top 10s, I feel like, with Kyle and Kurt Busch, because I mean, Kyle Busch, like, you know, he ran okay, but he struggled throughout the weekend. And then Kurt Busch, I feel like he was in 18th place all day long, and somehow he snuck out a 7th place finish. So, or no, that was Kyle. He stuck out a 5th place. Kurt did. So I don't know, man. It's just something's going on with Toyota, and they need to figure out. We'll see what happens when we get back to the East Coast. Matt, do you have something to add there?
I did. I wanted to actually talk about your checkers. And if you follow our social media pages, specifically our Facebook page this past week, Whitey and I were having some fun banter about Chase Elliott versus Reddick, and that kind of came to be because I don't know, we were talking about, like, in our text message group about, like, you know, let's be rivals this year.
Yeah, for the podcast. Yeah,
right, because it would make it more fun. But in all reality, putting all of that off to the side and me being real is I'm really rooting for you, rooting for your guy Reddick.
Yeah.
And I did want to say it reminds me a lot of a couple years ago when Larson was just getting rolling. He would come so close to winning a race, and everybody in the whole industry knew it was coming. You just didn't know when it was coming. And then finally he broke through and won that race, and everyone was like, well, we've been waiting for it. You know, we could see it coming a mile away.
Yeah.
That's the same exact feeling I have with Reddick. And I know, it was a running theme in last season where I kept telling you to look at me. Reddick's going to win a race.
Yeah.
Reddick, I really truly feel that he's going to win a race this year. It's only a matter of time at this point. I mean, he's running. I knew he was going to run well this year.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting him to run as well as he has been, and it's almost a matter of time before you get to see your dude win.
And honestly, to back
that up, Matt, I was doing the same thing yesterday. Like I said, my cousin Trey was rooting on the 14. He wanted to see that back in victory lane.
Yeah.
And I was there rooting on the 8 car, and you nailed it. You want it. There's the fun banter that goes down between the ball busting, but when it comes down to it, like we all root for each other's drivers. We all want to see, especially like Eric Jones. He smashed his car. He's out of the race. You know what I mean? Like they're not battling one another. You know what I mean? Like I'm easily gonna pick my friend's driver to win over anybody else for sure, because you almost to enjoy with the win as well in a weird. I don't know, like if Reddick won today, I would feel like we won.
Oh yeah.
Like because I don't know. It's
when
weird.
Jones is running well, I'm excited because I know you're excited. When Chase is running well, I'm excited because I know Matt's excited. You know, but I just think it's this new car, man. I'm feeling really good about RCR, just like Eric said with Austin Dillon and stuff, and Ross Chastain running really good the last 2 weeks, like really good. Like
he's the other one.
His win's gonna come.
Yeah.
And I want to say sooner than later, but I mean. Again, the great unknown of auto racing, that's what makes betting on it so hard, is because there's, 30 other guys out on the field trying to do the same exact thing, and like we said earlier, only 200 different drivers have won a cup race. So the numbers are kind of against you at all odds. But my wreckers, man, Brad Keselowski, what are you doing? Picking up right where Ryan Newman left off. He ran good at Daytona, which is something Ryan Newman usually did. And then he's fallen back to the mid-20s since. He has 9th place, 27th, 24th, and 23rd. Not a great start at all. We'll see how the rest of the season goes from here, but really not showing the performance a lot of people, including myself, had hoped for. Like, I'm rooting for Brad Keselowski to kind of have a resurgence of Roush. Like we saw back in the 2000s, kind of like I'm hoping Tyler Reddick and Austin Dillon can have a resurgence with RCR. There's these classic teams, the Wood brothers, being included in it. These teams that have been around for so many years, and it's kind of sad when they're not doing well. And I feel that for Roush, where I'm like, man, like I hope Brad Keselowski could get it together. Of course, Chris Buescher pulled out a top 10 yesterday, but man, Brad, where are you at? Maybe too much going on in his head. We talked about it too at Denny Hamlin and his team. Could team ownership be affecting the drive around the track? What do you guys think about that?
That Buescher top 10 wasn't really indicative of his race either. It was one of those deals where we had a late race restart and right place, right time. I don't know where he was running, and while you guys are talking, I'll look that up. But it definitely wasn't in the top 10.
We have some breaking news. Middle of the podcast, I got an alert on Twitter from friend of the show Justin Pierce. Breaking news: Quinn Houff confirms in a video that he will not be racing in NASCAR in 2020. That is according to Daniel Create4 on Twitter. So breaking news there: Quinn Houff will not be racing in any of the 3 NASCAR series.
We're a month into the second season here of the Bump and Run podcast, and that's the first Quinn Houff reference we've made. I'm actually I'm
kind of insane, to be honest with you.
Well, he hasn't been around to wreck cars, so.
Wow, I thought you were gonna say like Martin Truex Jr. announces his retirement or something.
No.
I thought it was real breaking news.
No, I saw it on my phone. I'm like, oh man, Justin, that's great. I gotta break in here. Matt, I apologize. I was not paying attention to a single word you said because I was reading that.
Totally fine. I wasn't saying anything more important than what that was.
So back to Brad Keselowski, RFK Racing, and what was it? Chris Buescher's top 10, 10th place finish, not indicative to his day.
Yep. So
Brad, in 22 races at Phoenix, only once besides yesterday has he ever finished outside of the top 10. 22 races and only one outside the top 10. And yesterday running P26 almost the entire day. So there's something to your point, Whitey. Maybe the ownership is affecting him because 22 races to only be outside the top 10 once, something's going on over there with Brad.
Yeah, Chris Buescher's average running place yesterday was 18th, so obviously not ideal. And then Brad Keselowski's was 24.5. That's not good.
Yeah, it's just I mean, like I said, I'm hoping they improve throughout the year. Maybe Brad's just got to figure out the right people back at the shop to get in there and stuff. I know Roush it was notoriously cheap. Even if you listen to Mark Martin's podcast, he talked a lot about it, where it was like pulling teeth trying to get just the funding to compete. And Mark Martin's one of the greatest of our sport, you know? So, I mean, that just goes to show you what he was up against all those years too.
I said that about Petty for how many years now? Same thing. They just weren't putting money into the racing product out there. And I think Roush is in that same boat that Petty is, where I think they were hoping, just as, Maury Gallagher, did for, Petty. I think he was hoping Brad was going to do that same thing for Roush. Bring in someone that's ambitious, that is a proven winner, that wants to win, to turn this around.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're still lacking and not giving enough, resources towards that team, you're going to hold them back. So, it is strange to see.
Yeah, something depressing about Petty that I didn't realize until the merger with GMS was just how little Richard Petty was even had ownership in that company. It was mainly an investment firm that owned that team, and I honestly think they just took it for as much profit as they can make over there. Jesus Christ, Matt, what are you doing?
Did I just make a bunch of noise? I'm sorry. I'm so a little behind the scenes.
You're banging pots and pans.
It's an empty polar can.
Okay, all right.
That's empty, yeah.
What flavor of polar are you drinking tonight?
This one was a raspberry lime. So
I got black cherry tonight.
That's in my koozie now. So we're all obviously, we're on screen talent, and we're also our own producers. I was trying to produce my end of the show here, and I rattled some things around. So
okay, all right. I wanted to let the listener at home that might be not watching to figure out what's going on.
While we're talking about it, the matchups are posted, so we could do that segment.
Okay,
get
perfect.
back into it.
Perfect. But yeah, just Petty Motorsports really just kind of stripped of all the resources, just a big money-making scheme for some investment firm. And I'm really glad that that deal's gone and GMS is in there, and they're actually going to try to perform. And so far they have. I mean,
Dillon came in 15th on Sunday.
Again, I think that's his
running in 16th when he blew that tire with 27 to go, I think. So both cars were going to get another top 15 finish. So for GMS and Petty, that's a great finish. Top 15 for that team.
How many people did Ty Dillon smash while he drove by them too?
In that black car, dude. I love that car.
Me too.
I was going to say with Ty Dillon too, I believe that he's finished within the top 15 at all the races so far. Does that sound right?
Was that Ty Dillon?
Yeah.
No.
Really? It can't be.
No.
Yeah. It can't be.
Okay.
Well, close.
Maybe it was the last 3 races then.
Because I think Eric Jones and him teammates are 18th and 19th in the standings right now. I think.
Never mind. It wasn't top 15. It was top 20.
Okay.
So Daytona had 11th, Auto Club 17th, Vegas 20th, and this past weekend in Phoenix 15th. But still,
that's great.
That's great for Ty Dillon.
Especially for his first full year back. His first full year back in the Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, right now running 20th in points. Eric Jones running 19th. I feel like Eric Jones could have been running a lot higher. He was in the top 10 in points going into Vegas before his issues and stuff. So, like, again,
running 6th last week.
Yeah.
And he doesn't blow that tire with 3 laps to go. There's a 3rd place and a 6th place back to back.
Absolutely.
Going into this week where he could have came away maybe top 12 with 27 to go, fight your way closer to the 10. I'm really excited what this new car is allowing these teams to do.
Oh yeah. Just like we've been saying, the performance on paper doesn't show the performance on track some of the times, and those are clear examples. Some other race notes. Of course, we talked about Ross Chastain. The second week in a row, I thought Ross can win. I really did. Just another solid performance. The win is definitely coming. No laps led this week, but the speed was there to do it. Just didn't have the opportunity to take the lead on a restart, and that was really key. Was getting that lead on restarts. Once you got the lead, I feel like you kind of kept a decent distance. Like I said earlier, really hard to pass. Reddick, not the best qualifying effort. He came in third, but again, solid lap averages, floated around 5th to 8th. I thought he had about a 5th place car, and he got up there. So, seizing the opportunity. Ryan Blaney starting on the pole. We didn't talk much about Blaney. He had a real solid day, though, led 5 times for 143 laps. I thought he was the clear favorite to win earlier on, especially in that first stage, and still came out with a top 5 finish. So I know Blaney was struggling the last couple weeks with getting the finishes where he had a great car and, he would get in an accident. Again, the finish is not really showing the true on-track performance. What do you guys think about Blaney?
Blaney, I have actually a stat here to go along with that, Whitey. It's his 9th time in his career where he's led over 100 laps in a race and hasn't come away with a victory. So maybe he has a little bit of Larson and Chase Elliott syndrome where he's putting together good races, have good cars, and just unfortunate circumstances are preventing him from really closing these races out. But he's leading a lot more races in recent years, but got to find out how to close them. So talk to his buddy. Maybe those two need to have a beer over a fire one night and really get their shit together.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. You guys know my thoughts on Blaney. He's one of my favorites. I said earlier this year, and I'm sticking with it, that I still think he's going to figure out a way to win the championship this year. He was the literal odds-on favorite going into the race to win the race, and just didn't come together for him. So again, he's going to win races. He's going to be good for multiple race wins this year. It's just got to all come together for him, and it will. I feel like it will.
Let's see the rest of the top 10. Kurt Busch, of course, 5th. We talked about him a little bit earlier on. Not much to add unless you guys have anything to add. 6th place Harvick. We already sang his praises in Matt's checkers. And again, solid day, solid weekend. I had him in my fantasy lineup. I knew he was going to do well. He had great pace during practice. And just a solid day that you love to see out of Kevin Harvick.
Oops, sorry. I was going to say, if anyone's pissed off about the reconfiguration at Atlanta, it's that guy right there, Kevin Harvick.
Oh, yeah.
The Kevin, R.I.P. the Kevin Harvick line at Atlanta. I didn't think about that.
Well, we'll see what happens. Who knows? It'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting weekend for sure. Will it be good? Will it be bad? We don't know, but it will sure be interesting. Kind of like going in the Clash.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kyle Busch started 11th, finished 7th. Solid finish from Kyle. While most of its teammates struggled yet again. For a while, though, I didn't think he would crack the top 10. He gained no stage points yesterday. What did you guys think about Kyle Busch?
Only thing I took out of Kyle Busch yesterday was the fact that I was so fucking mad that he in the 18 DeWalt team.
So confusing.
In the beginning, oh my God, look at Christopher Bell. He's going crazy. He's going down low. And I'm going, wait a minute. That's
Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
It confused me all race long. God forbid what the spotters had to go through, because man, was that confusing to watch.
Didn't it happen last year where Christopher Bell ran an interstate car?
Yeah.
And it was just so goddamn confusing the entire race.
Yeah, and I think Kyle Busch ran a Sports Clips car once too. Yeah, like Joe Gibbs. Come on.
I hate when they do that. I can't stand that.
I mean, you guys have season-long sponsors. I get you want to shake it up a little bit. Man, at least throw a different paint scheme on it so you don't confuse the fans, We've
got to get used to it, man. The Candyman isn't going to be the Candyman after this year. He's not going to have the Mars brand on, so I guess he's going to have all these rotating sponsors.
You want to know what? I didn't even think about that. So he'll probably, just like Christopher Bell's running the Sirius XM car that used to be just a Martin Truex Jr. exclusive. They'll probably all be switching up just to fill those gaps. I didn't even think about that, Matt. That was a great point. Let's see. 8th place, Joey Logano. He only led once for 4 laps, but he was in the higher half of the top 10 for both stage ends. just a solid top 10 car all day. I think you picked up like a 9th place and 10th place finish during the stages, something like that. I forget the exact number. You could look at the stats on that one. What do you guys think about Logano? Kind of a non-real factor, yeah.
Quiet, yeah.
We talked about Suarez. He got a 9th place finish after punting 83. Who's having a great day, running just in the top 10 for both stage ends. Suarez did what he had to do for 9th place, though. It sucks, but it is what it is. One of those racing deals. And 10th place, Chris Buescher snuck top 10 while his teammate and owner struggled all day long. So that rounds out your top 10. Another person, Kyle Larson, looked great all day long. I was real excited because I played him in fantasy. And of course, just like every week when it comes to fantasy, if your guy's going to have something go wrong, it always happens in the 3rd stage when you can't switch out that garage pick. And that's when he blew his engine, a rare Hendrick engine failure. He must have got one of those old Hendrick Chip Ganassi engines they were sending over to Ganassi mid-season last year. Blew a rod in the engine and ended Larson's day, which was depressing. Burned a use on Larson. I think he got 13 points overall in fantasy. But that's all I have for the top 10 and just anyone that really stuck out. Do you guys have anything to add? Anyone else catch your eye yesterday that we haven't talked about?
I heard an interview from the race winner that caught my eye a little bit. Briscoe was talking about, I think he was asked what he thinks about all of these, newer faces running in the top 5, top 10 and the parity in the sport right now. And what is the meaning behind it? And he kind of pointed out that a lot of the dirt racers are doing better in this car due to the fact that they don't have a lot of practice time in dirt. You go out there, you run a couple hot laps, and you got to figure it out. In that limited amount of time, you're figuring out that car and have to find out what you need your crew chief to change to get a good car. So with this next-gen car, no one's in it. These guys that have experience with having to break down and figure out a car really quick with limited practice are the ones you're seeing at the top of the board. And it just so happens to be a lot of the dirt racers with that experience, which was interesting to hear.
If you think about it, besides, Austin Cindric at the Daytona 500, obviously the super speedway is its own animal. The 3 winners we've got are Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, and Chase Briscoe. All 3 of those guys ran the Chili Bowl, right? Yep. So they're your dirt guys right there.
And who's your next dirt guy to win?
It's going to be Buescher. It's got to be, right?
Wow. Okay. All right.
No, I don't know. I just Stenhouse. Ricky's going to win next week in Atlanta. Or is it going to be Tyler?
I'm looking forward to that road course at COTA. We'll see what happens there. 3 out of 4 so far, Matt. Just don't forget that. 3 out of 4 so far. Tyler Reddick's finished better than Chase Elliott in 3 out of 4 races so far.
Yeah.
Except the one that we bet on, unfortunately.
Of course. Right. That's just Whitey luck, though. That's Whitey luck.
Oh, that's 100% my luck. Can I tell you how nervous I was getting during the end of that race? Because I'm thinking oh, this is it. I was more excited and nervous than at Auto Club when Reddick was leading all those laps. Cause I'm like, it's early. I don't want to count my chickens. I don't even want to get excited. So I just sat there and I watched. And of course we saw what unfolded. But yesterday I was sweating. I was literally on the edge of my seat like this, just thinking about the money I had on the line. I'm like, he could finally do it. He could finally make all my money back that I've been betting on him for 2 years every week to win a race. Come on, let's do it. But he didn't.
If I had $1 for every time that I brought up you during the race yesterday, Whitey, for what your condition was in, oh my God. I'm like, oh, Whitey's probably going nuts. Oh, Whitey's definitely chugging a beer right now. Oh, Whitey's definitely going crazy. It was because to the people, if you're just listening and to the people that have listened last season, I think you're kind of getting a feel for us and our personalities and kind of an insight of how we all are. And
the camaraderie.
And for the new listener, our boy Whitey here is he's just a ball of just pent up anxiety and nerves. Yeah. It just and he can't hide it as much as he tries to. No, there's no hiding, and we all just know what he's feeling in the moment. And that's part of what actually got me back to love this sport is getting you involved and seeing you as a new fan going through all of these emotions that we have all been through with our drivers.
Yeah.
It's awesome to watch it unfold for me, and I'm sure for Matt as well. It's awesome to see a fan like you getting into it and going through these ups and downs of how a driver's season and career could just go.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one in my own family who appreciates it. My dad texted me. I had to pull up the text yesterday. Better hope Chase beats Reddick because you will not hear the end of it. And that's all he said. So everybody knows, like I feel like we're all gonna celebrate with you when he finally breaks through.
I remember after Auto Club, Shrey texted me. He goes, "Man, I'm sorry, man. I was pulling for him. Like, it's cool. I get it. It'll happen. You know, it's just one of those things." But of all the times that he's been close, like running well, yesterday felt like the day. But man, you got to give it to Chase Briscoe. He earned that win every way possible. So I'm really happy for Chase Briscoe.
We're going to officially be in Dover for the May 1st race. So first of all, for anyone listening who might be at that race, if you want to meet up, definitely meet up with us.
Hit us up on Facebook or Twitter.
But you never know. That might be the race that Reddick just pulls it off and you'll get to see it in person.
I mean, you never know. I don't want to get too excited. It's far down the line. I'm excited about the youth movement right now. Like I really enjoyed watching the Xfinity series the last couple of years, and I'm really enjoying these guys start to run up front, especially Ross Chastain, man. If anyone deserves to run well in the Cup Series, it's him. He would run every Truck, Xfinity, and Cup race in a weekend. And I loved watching him light it up in the Truck Series a couple of years ago, and I'm really hoping that he does. He continues to have good runs throughout the season for track.
A literal farmer, a literal watermelon farmer with his family run farm. And he's making the most of an opportunity. He was close to quitting a few years ago and just going and working on the farm.
Yeah.
And things turned around for him. So it's cool to see. And again, I'll say it. I think he's going to win one sooner rather than later as well.
I want to talk about these young guys, and there's one in particular driver. What I'm about to ask you guys here, who I think can possibly be the one to spoil this, but Bob Pockrass tweeted out today that it was a NASCAR record that was set. It has now been a Cup record 10th consecutive race where a driver under 30 years old is our winner.
Yeah.
So that's 10 races with a driver 30 or younger to win a race. Do you think that continues? And who's the one to break it? And mine would be Harvick. Like we talk about people that are up there that, Matt, you hit on it. If this is the old Atlanta, I think I put all my cards in Harvick's basket this coming week after seeing him, the way he ran at Phoenix. I would think back-to-back Atlanta, he'd be the one to break that streak. But who do you guys think would be the one to break that young gun under 30?
How do you not go for Harvick? I mean, I keep thinking just because of the way he ran the past couple of years, I keep thinking Denny's going to rip one off here, but he hasn't.
He's just been struggling, man.
Struggling bad, man. Like they have just missed the mark there. Joey is always good to sneak one out. He's exactly he's 31 or he's going to be 32 soon. So yeah, he's over that 30 mark. So, I mean, Joey could be that guy. There's a couple guys.
The road courses coming up who, we know that, Christopher Bell has a win there. We know how Chase runs well there. I don't know. There's a couple
Martin Truex Jr. though. Martin Truex Jr. could spoil it at Coda. I don't know. Maybe we'll see a winner under 30 at Atlanta, but I think that Harvick's in contention. I think Kurt Busch can sneak one out. He's always good to sneak one out for a year. Could it be at Atlanta? He's already gone around the track in a car, not a NASCAR, but like a regular street car. So he sees the layout just a little bit. He might have something he's planning. Kyle Busch, I think he can pull out a win anytime. You never count Kyle Busch out,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It should be interesting who does spoil it and when it happens. Could it be this week in Atlanta? I don't know. We'll find out. Could it be in Coda? Could it be in Bristol Dirt? We got a whole lot of interesting races coming up. I know one guy that's been struggling though for a while now. Everyone loves to talk about the winner. Here on the Bump and Run podcast, we like to talk about the last place driver, and that one was Corey LaJoie. He lost a wheel around lap 45. They took the car right to the garage. So I'm not sure if they broke something and hit the wall and then the tire came off because of that, or the other way around where the tire came off and they broke and they hit the wall. But all I do know is his crew chief going to be taking a 4-week vacation, and Corey LaJoie struggling early on in this season so far. And that's all I have for this race weekend in Phoenix. Fellas, do you want to do the pickle lane? We're getting late on time. Just run through them real quick.
I can make my answers really quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of touched on a little bit of it, to be honest with you, earlier in the episode. So yeah, we could run through them.
Yeah, I don't even remember what I wrote, to be honest with you, earlier in the day. So we've seen some younger talent run really well on the West Coast. A lot of the same new faces have been pretty consistent. But now we head back to the NASCAR hub of the Southeast. Do you think that this is the point where we might see some of the veterans or bigger teams come back to life now that they can roll out some of the new cars that they've been working on back at the shop during the West Coast swing?
So we just kind of touched on it. Honestly, I don't think so. From what I've seen so far, and I can only base up my opinion off of what we've seen, is that talent is going to reign supreme with these new cars. They're a handful to handle, and we're going to be on a brand new track, brand new surface this week. I don't know what the weather is going to be like. If it's going to be sunny, it might be a little slick down there.
Yeah.
I think talent's going to reign supreme. It's going to feed right into the hand of guys like your Larsons, your Reddicks, your Chastains, these super Elliots, Eric Joneses, not to mention just our guys, but just guys that are supremely talented. I think it's going to play into that, and it's not necessarily going to be a machine thing. It's going to be a man. It's going to be a talent thing.
So far Sunday, we're looking at 70 and sunny. So,
okay, there you go.
A little bit cooler for the South, but still pretty nice out.
Sure.
How about you, Eric? What do you think? Do you think the young guns and the teams we've been seeing run up front so far continue this kind of projection? Or do you think we see some of the veteran teams and the bigger teams kind of even things out after coming back from the West Coast swing?
So like you guys touched on a little bit earlier, how you said you were listening to Sirius XM radio during the day. I caught Moody's show towards the end of the day, and he had Justin Marks on, who, Trackhouse Racing, and he was kind of explaining to Moody how they're operating this year. And he's basically saying with this new car, the way they're going about it is they're not doing the same things as they did with the old car as far as how can we make this faster by doing this, and this from their old notes. They got rid of
the
everything.
Old tricks don't work anymore,
Right. So like what he said was these older teams, not older, but the normally dominant teams, the Gibbs, the Hendricks, they might be too caught up in their old ways.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these newer teams, Petty, GMS, Trackhouse, you're seeing some of these teams that have nothing to go off of.
They don't have bad habits to kick.
Exactly.
Yeah, some of these veterans,
and they're just going off of energy. This is what we need to do to get faster. They're constantly working on it and really just thinking about the car as a new thing and going in and allowing any ideas to flow into that race shop. And I think that is what's prevailing. And maybe why Gibbs and some of these other teams could be struggling a little bit, because they're trying to do it the old way when they just have to completely scrap that. So I agree that, I don't see the teams. It's still too early in the season as well to really see who's going to jump out ahead.
Yeah.
What Justin Marks said, from what Briscoe said in his interview, I think that this year is really a definitive year when the talent and the teams that just want to win are going to end up in front.
All right, Choose comes back out for the second pickle lane topic. If you're a Gibbs fan, should you be concerned yet? We kind of just touched on it. With the exception of Kyle Busch, the team's performance isn't what I was expecting from Gibbs. So are you worried, or are you just looking to the future?
I don't think you hit the panic button just yet, but you do have to start, you have to start sweating if you're a Gibbs fan. Look at SHR last year.
Yeah.
Harvick was only the only mildly decent car. The other ones were running in the teens, in the 20s for most, if not all the season. And obviously they were able to, change that this year, but we're talking about, a stable of guys that are supremely talented. You've got two champions, 2 Cup champions in that stable. These guys know what they're doing. I don't think you hit that panic button just yet, but they've got to turn it around before we get into the summer months, because then the pressure's on.
How about you, Eric? Same page, or?
I just think over at Gibbs, don't hit the panic button yet, like Matt said, but I think your finger's on it.
Yeah.
I just don't think you're actually pressing it right now, but the finger's on it. And I just think there's a lot of shit going on in that stable of drivers besides maybe C. Bell, who's just got some things going on that are just distracting them from their racing on Sundays. And
yeah.
I wouldn't panic completely yet, but that finger, for me at least, is definitely on the button.
All right, and the final pick lane question of the day, and I think this has been a pick lane for this race weekend, for the championship weekend, and the spring date. Phoenix championship race? Question mark. Oh
no.
I told you I would make it quick. No.
Yeah. No.
Get it out of here. What are we doing? That was terrible.
Done
Awful.
with Phoenix. Done with Phoenix.
I would if I could choose any track to lose a date and any track to gain a date, I want to see Phoenix lose one, and I want to see Homestead gain one. Give us a Homestead spring and give us a Homestead finale. In fact, I don't even like Richmond. I would rather go to Richmond for the finale than Phoenix. And that's saying something, because we dog on Richmond hard, too.
Yep, and it's coming up soon. Ugh.
Hey, but who knows? The new car, maybe it'll be decent. We don't know.
Oh, one thing, real quick. I'm sorry. Hopefully this is quick.
That's okay.
Everybody who can hear me within the sound of my voice, stop referring Phoenix to a short track. It is not a short track. It doesn't race like a short track. It sucks. Short track is your Bristol and your Martinsville. Stop calling Phoenix a short track. It's driving me crazy.
I agree. Same with Richmond. Richmond's not a short track.
No,
technically it is in length, but it's not. It doesn't race.
It doesn't race like one, right?
Okay, that's enough lamenting over the pick a lane.
Let's look to the future and be positive.
Let's look to the future. We have a new track to go to. It's a new old track. It's a reconfigured Atlanta. I like the old Atlanta. What about you guys? Do you like the old Atlanta or the old Atlanta?
The old Atlanta,
where it was kind of shaped like Homestead.
Yeah.
I wish they went back to that. But we have a high banked oval, 1.5 miles coming up, something we've never seen before. Will it race like a super speedway? Will it race like a typical 1.5 miles? Will it be a combination of the two? We will see this Sunday, but trucks are going to be on track for a little doubleheader action Saturday, 2:30 on FS1 for the Freight 208. Absolutely love that name. I thought that was great.
208.
The Xfinity series will follow at 5 p.m. also on FS1 for the Nally Cars 250. Friday night, we have Cup practice at 5:05 on FS1. And like I said, it's going to be a 50-minute Cup practice, which means qualifying will happen Saturday at 12:30 on FS1. So the first time we have a full practice and qualifying weekend session. And of course, the main event Sunday, 3 p.m. on Fox. We have the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. And I'm looking forward to this, just seeing what it's going to be all about. 500 miles on a brand new track should be interesting nonetheless. Matt, Let's figure out who we're going to pick to win. Let's see. To review our picks from last week, of course, we've been doing the head-to-head battles. Last week, the head-to-head battles were MTJ versus Denny Hamlin. Eric was the only person to pick Denny, and he came in on top. Of course, Martin Truex Jr. having some issues. His day ended earlier. Me and Matt picked him, and we lost. Eric Almirola versus Ross Chastain. Technically, we all picked Eric Almirola, but Matt started out picking Ross Chastain, and then we convinced him to pick Eric Almirola. So I'm going to give him the Chastain win on that. We were wrong. Eric Almirola was running real strong the first couple races. This one, he just couldn't get that solid top 10 finish that we've seen out of him in the previous races. The next matchup, Bowman versus Bell, another one that me and Eric got wrong. We picked Christopher Bell over Alex Bowman. Matt got that one right. And the final one, Harvick versus Keselowski. We all picked Harvick, and man, what a show he put on compared to Brad Keselowski. What a mess that was. So Matt got 3 out of 4 of the head-to-heads right. So much like Eric the week before, another dominant performance from one of us, and then the rest of us kind of peter out. Eric got Dovin and Harvick right, and I only got Harvick right. So a rough one. Even more rough, I picked Martin Truex Jr. to win last week, and he got me 2 points. Of course, we go by fancy points. Eric picked Denny Hamlin to win. He got 24 points. And Matt picked Joey Logano with a solid top 10 performance. He got you 32 points, but not a whole lot, no stage points to add on to that lead. I am currently in last overall in points, 68 points. Abysmal. Dovin is in second with 105, and Matt is leading with 139 points. So Matt, do you want to give us the head-to-heads first, and then we'll jump into the stats for the top 10 favorites to win?
Absolutely. So we've got our featured matchups here. This is kind of going to be a crapshoot, seeing as though it is a new reconfigured track, new car. We don't really have a lot of data to go off of. But this is an interesting first matchup. It came down to these two last night. Chase Briscoe versus Tyler Reddick. Both of them have the same odds in this head-to-head matchup, minus 115. And these lines are provided, by the way, by DraftKings. Go ahead.
I'm going Reddick. Gotta. Can't not,
Eric?
If this race is like a super speedway, Fords usually are good on a super speedway. I'm going to go with the hot hand and the race winner and the 14 in Briscoe.
I think he's due. I think it's going to be Reddick.
All right. It should be interesting. Briscoe's been running real well the whole West Coast swing too. So that's remember last week I said Bowman and Bell. I don't want to touch either of them. That's kind of that one because it could go either way.
Yeah. So the next matchup's interesting because they usually tend to pin two guys together that have been racing pretty similarly, and I don't think these two have been racing similarly at all. Chase Elliott versus Denny Hamlin, also both of them at minus 115.
Yeah.
Whitey? I'm
going Chase. He's definitely been performing way better than Denny. Unless the odds makers out in Vegas know something we don't. I'm going with Chase Elliott.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm going with the 9 as well here. I picked Denny to win last week. He kind of let me down. We talked about Gibbs struggling, sticking with the 9.
Yeah, we're all on the number 9, engine number 9. I think Chase Elliott's going to defeat Hamlin as well. The next matchup is interesting as well. Two young guns again. We've got Ryan Blaney versus Kyle Larson.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
That's a little tougher than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I'm going with Ryan Blaney. Something's telling me about Blaney. If it does race like a super speedway, he's always up front in Daytona. So yeah, going with Blaney. Eric?
Young money. I mean, you can't bet against him. He would have dominated again, I think, if it wasn't for a valve spring issue blowing in his motor. I'm sticking with the 5 until Blaney's little black cloud gets out from over his car. Got to stick with the 5.
Okay.
New car on a new reconfigured track that they've never raced before. I've got to give it to both of them. Are wheelmen. I think Blaney's going to be our champion when this is all said and done. But Kyle Larson will figure this out better than everyone else. I'm going with Larson in this matchup. And then this last one is really interesting. Why they picked these two guys. Bubba Wallace versus Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
I think the odds makers are looking at it like a super speedway now.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that would be why. And if that's go ahead. I'll let you guys. Whitey, what do you think?
Oh man, I don't know Ricky. How's Ricky been running? I haven't really noticed him since Daytona.
He starts stage 1 and 2 in the top 10, top 15. Maybe has some issues, but he shows glimpses of running well, and then at other places he has his same issues where something just isn't right.
Yeah. I want to say Ricky, to be honest with you, because Bubba's been struggling real hard since Daytona.
Bubba has been struggling real hard. I'll go since Daytona, but and I'll use this as a qualifier before I make my pick. Is if it runs like a super speedway, I'm taking Bubba. He's been hot going into the second half of last year on super speedways. I'm taking Bubba's a sneaky, really good super speedway racer.
He really is. I'm
going 23-11 as well with mine. I'm going with Bubba.
Man, this is why. Watch practice and qualifying this week, just to see. Definitely check out practice in the draft, see what these cars look like. It's so up in the air. I want to go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. just because both you guys picked Bubba. I want to go against you guys. We'll make it fun. So
hell yeah.
If it races like a super speedway, I would love to go Stenhouse because he's just going to have more teammates out there. Toyota only has 6-7 cars in the field.
Yeah,
right.
But
that's what makes it.
Both of them were up front in Daytona and had a chance too. So I don't know. The great unknown of a new track.
I pray to God this race is like a super speedway.
I hope so too.
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be really, really fun. I think we're all going to be shocked come Monday when we go to record how impressive that this race is going to be. Now, I hope I don't eat my words, but I think it's going to be fun.
No, I'm with you.
No, I'm with you. I'm hoping so too. I hope it runs like a super speedway. I hope it runs like with tandem drafts and stuff that you talked about earlier on. I think that would make it set it apart from Talladega and Daytona. You know?
Yeah, and also set it apart from the other 1.5 mile tracks too. So, all right. We'll right before we make our picks here, I will give you the top 10 odds-on favorites to win this. We will start with 10. We've got a two-way tie between Martin Truex Jr. and Whitey's boy Tyler Reddick, both at plus 1,600. Whitey, There you go. That's good odds. You put money on Reddick every week.
Yeah.
It's good odds to win some good money. And then we've got a three-way tie here with Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, and William Byron, all three of them at plus 1,400. And then we also have another three-way tie. We're moving up here into the top 6. It's Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch. I guess they're all technically tied for fourth favorites at plus 1,200 each. And then no, not bad at all. And then the top 3 is interesting. We've got Joey Logano plus 1,100. As the third favorite. And we are recording Monday night, March 14th here. So just so these odds may change, they probably will after practice and qualifying, just as a heads up.
Yeah. If you want, if any of these are teasing you a little bit, lock them in today. That way you get the best rates.
Yeah, if you like these odds on any of these guys, lock them in before that changes. And then a two-way tie for the favorite to win this thing. We've got Blaney and Kyle Larson both at plus 1,000. So super, super interesting that even though Blaney has had his woes, they still have him as the favorite to win this thing.
And I like that. And considering that I did terrible last week picking MTJ, I get to go first, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney. Like Eric said, the Fords usually work together on super speedways. We saw it with Team Penske, RFK, and Stuart Haas Racing at Daytona, and I think Blaney's gonna have a good day. I think that black cloud is gonna go away in under sunny skies in Atlanta.
Eric, you're up.
Yeah, I'm.
Uh-oh. Are you having a whitey?
No. I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm gonna.
Uh-oh.
As much as like I just think with the way the racing has been going and the way that these finishes have been going and figuring out this car and just something about down in Atlanta, I just think my gut is telling me to go with the 9 car.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Chase Elliott. He's a good plate racer. Races up front a lot of times, and Matt hinted at him not finishing races, and I think this is a race where Chase actually comes up and finishes and gets things done.
Hometown boy, I hope you're right, man. Well, seeing as though we do have a cap on 5 per driver this year, I have not taken him. He is tied with the favorite for Ryan Blaney. Where's that Kyle Larson hat on? I'm going to go ahead and put that Kyle Larson. I don't have one, but I'm taking Kyle Larson.
I think all 3 of those are great picks. We'll find out what happens this Sunday in Atlanta. Looking forward to it. We are 4 races in. We have 4 different drivers locked into the playoffs so far. Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, and Chase Briscoe. Can one of those guys go for win number 2? Will it be Kyle Larson? Will it be Chase Elliott? We have 2 Chases to talk about now. That's going to get confusing. Just like we have 2 Kyles now we have to talk about. It gets confusing sometimes. Or will it be Ryan Blaney in the Team Penske number 12? We will find out this Sunday, 3 p.m. on Fox. I wish it was 2:30 for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 at Atlanta's newly configured track. And we'll break it all down for you Monday night right here on the Bump and Run podcast. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The Bump and Run.
There it is.